I've covered Boruto for about 2 years and some change now, and I found that one of the most intriguing battles in this series isn't even a physical fight. Not saying that it couldn't turn physical, but let's just say the outcome of this confrontation could change the ninja world as we know it. And I do tend to cover this very often on my channel, and this probably isn't going to be the last time I cover it either, because we haven't even reached the climax of this conflict. But it's already so interesting because of the people involved, and if you couldn't guess who I'm talking about, Boruto and Kashin Koji. The dynamic between these two characters is like fire and ice, light and dark. Even if you don't think they're exact opposites, you have to admit they're more polar opposite than not because of the choices they made throughout the series. Boruto and Kashin Koji are the main two characters that make choices that could impact the future the most. Koji has the prescient shinjutsu that lets him see all possible futures and timelines, but he's not the one actually going out there and making the necessary changes so the future can be influenced to a good timeline. That job would belong to Boruto, as the main responsibility of a singularity of fate, which is to aid the paths to good futures from the shadows. And this plan would be executed without any problems. The only problem is, Boruto and Kashin Koji have very strong personalities, and a very different belief in ethics. And to make matters worse, they're stubborn in their own beliefs too. They rarely tend to compromise when they have their mind set, and we see that several times throughout the duration of their new alliance. In the perspective of Koji, he believes that the best way to secure a good future is to use any means possible to influence the timeline to the most favorable future, percentage-wise. But where Koji differs from Boruto the most is that he doesn't care how he arrives to the most favorable future. To get to the future that has the best percentages, he'll do anything, regardless if it's ethical or not. He'll let Yodo die, he'll let Konohamaru die, he even prepared to have Kawaki die just for precautionary purposes. And he constantly shows us that this way of thinking isn't a coincidence. This is actually how he thinks. And of course I'm gonna mention what happened in the most recent chapter to further push my point that he just doesn't care. So as we all know, the personal chamberlain of the daimyo, Lord Kobu, has been interfering with the outcome of the future heavily. And what I mean by that is Shikamaru keeping his job as Hokage. For the timeline to have the best percentages of being influenced to a good future, Shikamaru must keep his job as the Hokage. As a matter of fact, the Momoshiki operation heavily depends on his presence and power as Hokage. And without him having that much power and influence in Konoha, the plan is at risk of failing. Which means the chances of the future where Eida gets devoured and Himawari dies is more likely to happen. And obviously, those two girls are way more important to the outcome of the future than a guy like Kobu. He could die right now and the outcome of the future wouldn't change at all. And it's this fact alone which made Koji come to the conclusion to get rid of him for good. And if you ask a lot of people, they might tell you that Koji was right to do what he's doing. And I mean, to be fair, some people might tell you he's wrong. But regardless of how we feel about the situation, the fact of the matter is that Koji is taking an innocent life for the sake of the future. And it's different than any other times he did this. Because now, he's directly involved with the death of an innocent person. In the past, when Yodo died, Koji wasn't directly the cause of her death. He just didn't tell anyone that she would die because he wanted that future to happen. So it's more like he didn't do anything to avoid that outcome because he thought of her as expendable rather than an asset. And the same thing was going to happen to Konohamaru if it wasn't for Boruto intervening. And now you can kind of see how those examples is different from this one. You see, now Koji is directly associated with Kobu's death, if he doesn't make it out this situation, because he attacked Momoshiki, which is influencing the timeline heavily to a future where Kobu gets attacked by Momoshiki. And remember, as a singularity of fate, you have the power to create futures and scenarios that didn't exist prior, because you simply know the future before it happens. So like I said, Koji is directly involved in his death, and he wants to kill Kobu because his death could possibly yield some positive outcomes in the future, regardless if it's ethical or not. Now, when it comes to Boruto, of course he's different than Koji in many aspects, but the one that's most apparent is how Boruto was reluctant to sacrifice an innocent person for the sake of the future. So let me paint a picture in your head so you understand better of how these two are different. So let's use Sarada as an example. The main goal of the Tsunagakure mission was to eliminate Ryu and Matsuri to save both Moegi and Shinki. But more importantly, Koji wanted Sarada to awaken her Mangekyo Sharingan, and to do that, he was willing to let Yodo die, because the future where Yodo dies yields a 90% chance that Sarada awakens the MS and destroys Ryu. but Boruto asks Koji was there a future where Yodo lives and Sarada still awakens the MS. He didn't give a definitive answer on that question, but if there was, it most certainly wouldn't yield a 90% chance that she awakens the MS. It probably would have been around 60%, or even lower than that. But regardless of the percentage, that's the option Boruto would lean towards, because at the end of the day, you don't have to sacrifice an innocent person. And you could apply this to any situation because it's not the person that matters, it's just how Boruto is as a person. And that's where their main conflict stems from. It's this difference in their character. And we can see ever since this happened, Boruto has aimed some animosity towards Koji. But if I said the conflict started when Koji let Yodo die, that would be wrong. Because it didn't start there. It actually started once Boruto started to go behind Koji's back and influence the timeline in his own image. And the first real depiction we get of Boruto doing this was back in chapter 15, where he indirectly made Kawaki stronger by telling him of his limiters that Amato placed on his power. And by Boruto doing this, he changed two futures that Koji told him back when they first met. He most likely changed the future where Kawaki gets devoured by the Ten Tails, or at the very least, made it so there are less futures where that happens. And most importantly, he changed the future where Jurek kills Boruto. And we already seen how Boruto changed that future. So even though Kashin Koji has the power to see all futures and possibilities, Boruto has shown the capability to take these future visions and make changes to the present to create new never before seen futures that work in their favor. So because Boruto did this, Konoha now has another ally to help fight against the Shinju that has proven to be just as strong or even stronger than Boruto. And if you didn't already get the memo, that raises the percentage of the planet surviving exponentially. Boruto also did the same thing when it came to Momoshiki. Of course, we all remember the deal he made with him in exchange for his power. Now, the end result of that change hasn't been revealed yet, nor is it going to be revealed anytime soon. But Boruto definitely has a plan regarding dealing with Momoshiki that he doesn't want anyone to know yet. Which is why he didn't tell Koji much about the deal when he asked him. But definitely, Boruto is planning something based on the seeds that he's planting right now. But he does plan to give Momoshiki his body. He didn't lie about that. That much is for certain. But at the current moment, he needed the power to take on Mamushi, because he just wasn't strong enough to fight him when his clones were few. But of course, he's gotten weaker mentally to the point where even Team 10 could deal with him. Boruto also contacted Sumire to enhance his sword based on future technology. So just like Kawaki, Boruto has told one of his comrades something that would accelerate their growth, physically or mentally, which is surprisingly something he took from Kashin Koji, because as we remember, he did the same thing to Boruto when they met. That's why he knows techniques like the Flying Thunder God or Uzuhiko years before he was supposed to. But this time, what he told Sumire would aid him even more on his path for strength, because giving her this information would make his sword stronger and allow her to implant some mysterious material into the sword that will help him in the long run in his mission. So Boruto has shown us that his judgment can also yield some positive results in regards to the future, and also that everything that Koji does isn't the right thing to do. Ikimoto did that to inform us that both characters can be right, so it's not easy to pick one or the other, because at any given time, either of these characters can have the right decision in mind, but they're still both different in what they believe what's right or wrong. So that means what Koji is doing right now, the Kobu, I believe Boruto might take issue with this, because even if his death yields a positive result in the future, Boruto would still want to take the route that allows Kobu to keep his life, because like I said, that's just how he is. Ikimoto actually foreshadowed a brewing conflict between Kashin Koji and Boruto very soon, because in chapter 30, Shikamaru has told Inujin that he won't be available because he has to go to the interrogation room. Then Kashin Koji told him to hide one of his toads somewhere on himself because he has a plan, or as he stated, something like that. And in the very next panel, we can see Boruto looking back in suspicion, almost as if he knows that Koji is on his BS again. This single panel almost convinces me that Boruto is going to save Kobu from Mamushi, because remember, as good as it may seem, Boruto does not want to take the future that causes multiple people to die, which we already established earlier on in the video. Boruto has to stop Koji from doing this. It's not even about saving Kobu at this point. If Boruto lets Koji get comfortable doing things like this, it'll be one of his friends next. Shikadai, Sumire, perhaps he'll even try to sacrifice Konohamaru again next. And he won't tell Boruto about any of these futures where his friends die because he knows he'll try to stop it. So Boruto has to change the way Koji thinks right now, otherwise it'll only work against him in the future. He's not only killing innocent people, he's dragging other people in it. So by Boruto saving Kobu, he's also saving Inojin from being an accomplice in a murder. Even if there's no proof, he's saving him from having that weight on his conscience, even if it's for the sake of the future. And this could actually be a plot point for chapter 31, Boruto saving Kobu, and then him confronting Kashin Koji for doing this. One thing's for sure, this is only gonna extend the ever-growing rift between Boruto and Koji, and it could really end bad. While I know things wouldn't get too physical between them, you know, Boruto eliminating Koji and vice versa, it could get really heated with them expressing their own ideologies and morality to each other. But whole time, Koji can be completely right. Killing Kobu can absolutely be the right thing to do, and Boruto can just be getting in the way. Or Boruto's way could be better. He could even have did something in the shadows behind Koji's back, which could help with the future outcome without Koji killing Kobu. Either way, Koji wouldn't know this, nor would they come to common ground because at the end of the day, they don't communicate this kind of thing with each other. Just a bunch of going behind each other's backs or withholding crucial information. And you may have already guessed, as long as they keep doing this, the future is doomed. Kashin Koji has to acknowledge Boruto's impact in the future, and that he can be more useful than just fighting. And Boruto has to realize that Koji only wants what's best for the future, and if offered a better alternative, perhaps he'll try and actually work with him instead of hiding information. Long story short, for the real best percentages of the planet's survival to emerge, they have to work together. Only then will the planet's survival be secured. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Do you think Boruto is right to save Kobu? Or is Koji right for killing him? Or do you think they should just stop this childish feud and work together? Let me know how you feel about this entire topic regarding these two. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you of course like the video, comment, subscribe, and turn on the post notifications so you guys don't miss another video like this or when I go live for chapter spoilers. And until my next one, I'll see you boys and girls later. And I'm out. Peace.